All right, it is an honor to be speaking with today the former Navy SEAL and former member of Navy SEAL Team 6 who did kill the leader of Al-Qaeda, Osama Bin Laden, Robert O'Neill. Robert, what's going on, sir?
How do you do, sir? I'm having a good day. What's going on?
Everything's great. Sir, it's an honor to be speaking with you today. This is such an honor. I can only, I can't even begin to explain.
Well, thank you for taking my call. I was very impressed with how quick you picked that up and had us rocking and rolling. I wanted to make sure I had the right place.
You know what? I knew you were calling, and whoever was going to be on that line, I was praying to God that it was you.
Well, that was good intuition, a little good recount there on your part. So thanks for having me. Seriously, I really appreciate it.
Well, Robert, I could tell you all day how much of, this is like a dream come true. I remember as a small kid, you know, wondering who the man was behind, the gun who did kill the face of terrorism, the most wanted face of terrorism, Osama bin Laden. And now I'm getting the opportunity. And it is such a privilege and an honor. And I would just like to ask you if you could walk me through that night.
Yeah, that night was something. It was actually the process of getting there because even when they told us what we were doing back in the States, we accepted the fact that it was a one-way mission. That based on where we were going, how we were getting there, the flight in, getting shot down, blown up, whatever. We accepted that we were going to come back. So we had all already had our last meals with our families, even though our families didn't know they were last meals. We didn't tell them because we couldn't tell them. They didn't even really know we were leaving the country. And then, fast forward a couple of days in Afghanistan and we launched. It was almost surreal because we were going for a specific reason. We had all talked about it. The 23 of us on the ground, and then the few in reserve, and then the guys behind us on different helicopters. We'd all talked about it, accepted what we were doing and why, and we were going for the country, for the FDNY and the NYPD and the Port Authority Police Department in New York City and the victims of 9/11 and their families, the people in the towers, windows on the world, and the brave passengers who stormed the Flight 93 cockpit and took it to the ground to save lives, and the people in the Pentagon who went to work, and then died there on a Tuesday morning. We did it for them, and that's why it was such an honor to go. So just to be there, accepting death and going on that mission for this country was just something that the only two words I think of as silly as it is cool and proud, because the guys were so cool and I was so proud of everybody. When we first launched, we had 90 minutes to get in there, so we were thinking about what's going to go down on the flight. And there's no sense, you could get hit with a missile at any point, but there's no sense in worrying about it because that's not going to stop it. So it was interesting to look around and see what people were doing. Some guys put their iPods in, their buds in, and they fell asleep.
And this is
Other
all
guys,
happening on your helicopter ride over in the Black
yeah,
Hawk?
yeah, that's a right in. And I was sitting next to Cairo, the dog, and kind of petting him and just going through, what we're going to do, what the plan is. We rehearsed a whole bunch of times, and I was counting, 0 to 1,000, 1,000 to 0, just to ease my mind. I learned that as a sniper years back in Kosovo and a lot of training and things like that. And then we banked to the south. We had about 10 minutes to go, and I don't know how I remembered it, but instead of counting, I started saying what President Bush said on 9/11 when he addressed the world, and said, "Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended." And it kind of sunk in. It's like, okay, this is it. We're on this mission. This is for everybody. And then we opened the door 2 minutes out. We had the perfect plan. There's lights. There's a crowd. Not a crowd. Sorry, lights in a city. And
Well, if I could
electricity.
pause there, I'm sorry to interrupt. If I could pause there and ask you this question. What happened when the first Black Hawk helicopter went down? Now you're in Pakistan. The Pakistanis are denying that he could potentially be there. It's
Oh,
all
sure.
BS. They're covering it up, obviously. And the first Black Hawk goes down.
Yeah.
Now, are you freaking out because you're in Pakistan? You have a ton of could be radical Islamists and the Pakistani army right next door.
No, I wasn't excited at all because I didn't know it crashed. I was in the other one, and I assumed it took fire and did a loop. So we just got out on the outside as opposed to the rooftop like we were planning. And we were just going to do what we always do: start on the exterior wall, breach our way in. So we started doing that. I didn't know it crashed until we actually got in the compound, in the house, and then they told some guys on the helicopter actually told me what happened. So And it was, we weren't worried about that. We sort of had a contingency for that. We knew we had other potential helicopters come get us. We just had a job to do. So we just started methodically clearing the house. But because we landed so far in the back, I was one of the last guys into the house. And my guys from the other helicopter had already been engaged, already killed 3 terrorists, and they're moving methodically in the first floor. So I'm sort of in the back in a room watching my guys work. And again, just thinking how cool it was, knowing the room, the house, everything could blow up on top of us at any time. But everyone was just doing their job, slow as smooth, smooth as fast. Working on doors, kicking doors, breaching small explosives, things like that. We finally got through, cleared the entire first floor, and it led to a stairwell that went up to the next floor. And that's when it got really, really interesting, because that's where the agency analyst told us, when you run into stairs, you're going to find Khalid bin Laden, which is Osama's son, and he'll be in between the first and second or third floor armed. That's the last line of defense. If you see him, get rid of him, you got a shot at the big guy. So I was still a little bit far back looking up the stairs when they saw him, and it was quiet, it was dark, and just the way the guys in front of me handled him, I don't want to ruin it because it's a better read if you have time in the Operator, the book I just put out. But they eliminated that there. And when they did that, I just remember thinking, God, I hope we live through this, because people need to know what happened on this stairwell. It was incredible.
Wait, so he pops out,
yeah.
and you guys have identified him now, and it's dark and creepy sense, and you are now thinking that, why was that? Was there more people with Khalid bin Laden, or was it just you, or was it just him?
Just him for right there. There were going to be more people on the second and third floor, but for some reason the analysts decided that there would be just him on the stairway trying to descend. So we encountered that, got rid of that, and then made our way to the second floor. And I was about 8 guys back at that point. And then everyone between the point man and myself separated left and right to clear the unknown areas on the second floor. So they're doing their job, and then it was down to 2 of us, the point man and me. I was right behind him as the number 2. He was pointing up the last set of stairs through a curtain, and he could see people moving behind the curtain. That's when he assumed they were suicide bombers. Now they're putting on the vest. Now it's going to blow up. This is it.
And this is when you're in the room, or when you're on the second level?
No, it's on the second level. So we're pointing up, and I was the 2 men controlling the movement. But the point man started saying to me, we got to get up there because they're putting on vests. He didn't want to wait. I did want to wait, but I could just hear it in his voice, like, we got to go now. And as opposed, it wasn't bravery on my part. It was more of okay, we're going to blow up now. Let's get this over with. I'm tired of thinking about it. So I squeezed him. We went up the stairs. He went through the curtain, encountered a few individuals that turned out to be women, but he didn't know right away. He just knew they were suicide bombers, which they weren't, but he thought they were. So he jumped on them to absorb the blast himself. So I watched him basically jump on a grenade that didn't go off, which is incredibly brave.
Oh,
that happened. I turned to the right, and I'm in the doorway for Bin Laden's bedroom, and there he was, about 3 or 4 feet in front of me, standing with his hands on the shoulders of his wife, sort of pushing her at me. I saw him, did a quick target identification. That's him. He's 6'3". He's skinny. That's his beard. That's his nose. I recognize him. He's not surrendering. He is a threat. I'm assuming he's wearing a suicide bomber, so I had to treat him as such. And that's when I shot him in the head twice, and then once more on the ground. And then it was over before I saw. I mean, it was over faster than I saw him. I only saw him for maybe a second.
Now let me pause you. Or go on. I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's okay. And then he went down. The wife was there. I sort of moved her out of the way, put her on the bed. Her child, their son, like maybe 3 years old, was standing there. And as a father, I remember seeing him thinking, this poor kid, he's got nothing to do with this. I picked him up, put him there, and other SEALs are coming in the room at this point. That's when it started to sink in that, wow, I just shot Bin Laden, and we might live, and this is crazy. And that's up to the point where we killed him, and then we went on and found the electronics and the computers and all that stuff and tried to leave.
I remember, watching that with my father on the news. Now, when you killed, or when, take a step back just for a minute if we can. When you first saw and you identified Osama Bin Laden, I'm assuming that you had never come across him before this time.
No, I didn't see him. I don't think anybody saw him. I don't know when last time a Westerner saw Bin Laden.
Well, I remember Lalo Roberti. I have done a podcast with Lalo Roberti, and he said in his podcast, everybody, when they were in the Middle East, when Bin Laden was still alive, was always etching to get him, to take the shot. Now, when you saw him, what was going through your head? You're looking at the face of terrorism. FBI's Most Wanted will go down in history as one of the most notorious terrible terrorists, and you're looking right at them, was it just shocking, or was so much adrenaline running through your blood that, instantly you did what you had to do, which was aim for the head and fire 2 shots?
Well, no, I mean, it wasn't really adrenaline. It was more of a we're going to do it, and I know he's there because of the intel that we heard and seen up until that point. But I just assumed he was going to blow up, so I wanted to get a shot into his head before. I wanted to make sure it was him, and then try to get a shot off before he connects, the positive and the negative and blows himself up. So it was, I mean, there was adrenaline involved for sure, but, we had done it so many times, obviously not after Bin Laden, but after high-value targets in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other places, that it was just, the guy in front of me got me up the stairs, the tactics turned me to the right. I did what any other SEAL Ranger or Green Beret would have done. I just happened to be the guy on the spot right then.
Wow, and God bless you for doing that too. This guy was a horrible guy, and it's just something where, once you took that shot, what was going through your head? Because I'm gonna ask you after, if you can answer this question, I'm gonna ask you what it's like, or what it was like for you once you got in the helicopter and you were leaving Pakistan. What was going through your head after you took the initial shot and killed him?
Well, when we got in the helicopter, it was quite an experience because I happened to be laying on top of, because we jumped into they pulled in a Chinook to get us, a 47, and when we piled in, we had other guys from our unit there, and then other guys from the ground there, and I happened to be sort of laying on top of the guy, the sniper that initiated the fire to rescue Captain Phillips. So I remember thinking what a hero he was. Now I'm on top of him. He actually handed me his Copenhagen and said, "Here, take one of mine. Now you know what it's like to be a hero." And
Oh, wow.
yeah, we're kind of laughing, and I turned, and another friend of mine who was from the same command but a different squadron, who happened to be from Manhattan, he asked me the question that every SEAL, every soldier, every Marine asked when they found out. He said, "Who killed him?" And I said, "I did." And he said, "On behalf of my family, thank you." Just, very bizarre. We got another Navy SEAL telling me that because he was from New York. It was just, I mean, I don't think it's still sunk into this day, but that it is just a realization of what an incredible team, an incredible moment, and just the fact that we're leaving. And now we might live. We might get, if we fly 90 minutes towards Afghanistan and make it across the border, we might get another, 50 years of life. So it was a very, very emotional moment.
Wow. Now, it was celebratory in the helicopter ride back. There was, it wasn't quiet, or was it, or was it a celebratory moment? Not to speak for you, just I could only imagine. You guys have you are an American hero, sir. So I could only imagine what it was like in the helicopter ride home.
Well, it wasn't celebratory because we had 90 minutes where we could get shot down still, because now they probably know we're here. They have sensitive areas, including the military site. The internal intel service from the Pakistanis probably knows we're there, and we know they have F-16s. So we're kind of going with the whole nobody say anything, nobody high five, because it's like watching a no-hitter be pitched, but we don't want to jinx it. So we sat there for, we were sitting there counting the time, realizing we're getting closer and closer. And then, we had 90 minutes to go, but 85 minutes into it, the pilot came over the radio and said, "All right, gentlemen, for the first time in your lives, you're going to be happy to hear this. Welcome to Afghanistan." And that's when the high five started, because we're like, wow, we just pulled it off.
Wow.
So that was quite a night.
And you had in your head, even though the Pakistanis were denying it, you had in your head that he was there?
100%. Yeah, the woman they made famous in the movie Zero Dark 30 kept telling us, if you want him, he's in this house 100%.
So is she safe? If you can confirm that or not, what happened to the tap? The person who, said that he was there, who cuz that's threatening for her. I mean, I could only imagine. You got a whole country of people who would want to now kill her.
She's good. She's done a good job of staying out of the public eye, and she was funny. The last time I talked to her, I asked her how they were treating her, and she said, "Good. I didn't even get a parking spot."
Oh, wow. That is something else. Well, it's just, to listen to that and listen to your story. And what I do have one question for you. I'm a conservative. I always have been. George W. Bush supporter. Love him. And Trump supporter as well. Now, one thing I do remember as I was growing up, I remember going to high school, and I remember just cheering with my friends that the Navy SEALs had just killed Osama Bin Laden. And it was the talk of school. And people were beginning to say, teachers and students were beginning to say that Barack Obama killed Osama bin Laden. And that is something that did not sit well with me whatsoever. You know, it was the SEALs who killed bin Laden. I believe, honestly, that if if the mission had failed, Obama's political aspiration would have just failed. You know, he was still just giving the order. You know, his political career could end. Your life could have ended, sir. What was that like for you when people were saying that Barack Obama killed Osama bin Laden?
Well, I think to be fair to President Obama, um, he, that was, I mean, politics obviously that was his life. He's in his first term. He wants a second term like any first term president. Just having said go, that he did throw his political life on the line. He did, he really did. I mean, he made a call that I would hope any president would have made, but he did make the overall decision, and he did take advice from he's left leaning, but there's bipartisan support in the cabinet. He did say go, and I think like it was a pretty unifying moment for the entire country, and I hope that we all kind of recognize that. Yes, later on they did try to use it to get Hillary elected, and that made me, that didn't sit well with me. But to see what President Obama went through to make that call, because if we failed, and what if everyone died on that first helicopter, and then we all got captured? He's not getting a second term, and I know that's nothing compared to losing your life, but he did make the call, and I'm not sure he ever. For the next few weeks or so, he didn't really use it, and I think that was fair. Granted, they are going to say, yes, we did to get reelected, but you got to figure these. A lot of these analysts worked for President Clinton, then they worked for President Bush, and then they worked for President Obama, and some of them now work for President Trump. It wasn't a left or right type thing. These are really good men and women that I would rather, instead of saying Hillary Clinton has something to do with it, I would say that one of the government agencies did, as opposed to a politician. But there's a lot going on. But I think it was a team effort.
Of course. And after that, I do have to ask, what was it like coming out and sharing your story? I do remember watching an interview in the past with you. I forget who it was, what analyst.
That would have been Peter Ducey.
I think it could have possibly been Sean Hannity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it could have been Sean Hannity, and you were receiving ISIS terrorist threats.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. Yeah, I did do an interview with Sean Hannity. Yeah, I mean, they're going to threaten us, but I came out with the story originally to help 9/11 families with the healing process, and to this day, I still get messages and emails from family members saying they sleep better at night because they know this happened. There's a face and a name. The healing there'll never be closure, but the healing process is there. So I assume risk, like I have before in the past. I'm aware of it, and I have security in place. But I've done that before. I'll do it again if I can keep helping the families for that tragic day. But also, we're all targets. They want to hit this country. And for me personally, I'd rather acknowledge the threat and say it's there than pretend it's not, just because nobody said anything. It's better to know what potentially could be happening. So that's where I'm at with that.
Of course, and I remember, Ray Kerr mentioned last week the same thing of keeping a close circle. Whether it be Instagram, Facebook, any form of social media, you'll see stuff that will pop up. Could that potentially be terrorists?
You never know. Anything could be terrorists. I mean, it's as simple as even if you have the right of way in a crosswalk, are you looking both ways because you've seen what they can do? Just awareness, complacency kills.
Yeah. Now, just to jump back to, Pakistan, once you got there, was there ever a time where you felt, I know you did mention that there were times where you felt that this was going to be it, but once you got there going into Pakistan, was there any ever fear that the army was going to be coming? Not saying that you couldn't handle, you know what I mean? You guys are amazing, and the elite warriors, but was there ever any fear that they were going to be tipped off and that they were on their way in?
No, because we didn't tell anyone in the Pakistan chain of command. And if you think about it, if we did hit somewhere like that, it's not going to be the Pakistan military that responds. It would be the local police. Because even if something happened here next to one of our military academies, the local midshipmen aren't going to be the ones to come out and defend. It's going to be the cops. So that's but we never thought. We thought we were. I mean, obviously, with the helicopter crashing in the front yard, the realization, okay, we do need to keep this to about 30 minutes and get out of here. But we weren't worried about that, and we were confident we could get some assets above us. Plus, we know how to fight. We had 23 of the best warriors on the ground. So, I mean, the fear thing never came in. It was just the awareness.
Yes. Now, I know you also did participate in X amount of operations. I believe it was over 400, if I'm correct. Okay. One of which was the rescue of Captain Phillips.
Yes, that happened in 2009 before the raid. I left. It was actually my birthday and Good Friday, April 10th, 2009. I was at my daughter's Easter tea party at her preschool, and we were in the middle of feeding them treats when I got a message and had to leave from a preschool classroom and go rescue Richard Phillips. And from the time that I kissed my daughter goodbye to the time we were in the Indian Ocean as a full team was less than 16 hours, which is pretty impressive. That was the first time we could actually show some, not even American might, but American pinpoint accuracy as far as don't mess with anybody that's got an American flag on. And we rescued him. So we flew out on Good Friday. We rescued him on Easter Sunday. I wasn't one of the snipers, but I was able to take part in it, and very, very impressive. Everything from the Air Force pilots, the load masters, the riggers who put the chutes on the boats, the boat guys, the SEALs, the EOD. It was just a great, great effort.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do also I want to ask you is, how do you deal with the ongoing BS conspiracy theories? It's and they drive me nuts. And I'm just a civilian, but I'm a huge military supporter, especially supporter of the special operations community. I idolize you guys. How do you deal with these ongoing conspiracy theories of some anti-Americans coming out and saying, oh well, Bin Laden's still alive and this and that? It's the same people who are saying, oh, Tupac's still alive and this and that.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
what do you? I mean, it's funny. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Let's address that first. Tupac supposedly has been dead for a while, but he keeps knocking out platinum albums, and I'll keep buying them. No, I don't. I mean, look, I saw it happen, but I'm basically the only one who saw it happen. There are a few guys that are there that saw Devon's body, but other than that, I mean, you can't convince people of crap that they don't. Some people, these far crazies on either side of the aisle. It just happened. I don't give it a time of day. It's like, whatever. You don't want to believe it, fine. We buried him at sea, fine. See, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, one of these days, this conspiracy that we didn't kill Bin Laden will come down to the point where it's going to cost someone votes, and someone will release the pictures. They're there. We got them, and they're graphic. They're not the ones you see on the internet. They're way worse than that. Those are photoshopped. But, I mean, I made a career on staying positive and avoiding negativity, and just to address someone that's just crazy to say we didn't land on the moon and the Earth is flat or whatever. I don't have time for it, so I mean, to be honest, I don't care.
Of course, and I mean, I also, I hope this would not get him in trouble. He did not say anything else or what ship. I do have connection and I have a connection to a friend of mine who's serving in the United States Navy who was on the ship that put him to rest.
That's actually really good to hear. You should put that out because those conspiracy theorists try to claim that no one was available or no one saw it. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was on the ship. It's just that kind of stuff that drives me nuts because I can't listen to it. And I give you
That's
guys
nonsense.
the utmost respect, sir, because you were there, and I'm sure it's been such a pain to listen to and hear what these idiots have to say.
Well, if I did give it time of day, I would just say, we did risk our lives. That's no joke. Even though 23 of us, 4 pilots, 4 aircrew, we didn't make it up. We really went. We really said goodbye to our kids. It was a real thing, real tears, real emotion, and then real American. I don't think exceptionalism is a word, but it gets thrown around, so I'll say American exceptionalism. But I mean, it was real, and again, whatever. They can do whatever they want.
And now is that potential, death, what is that feeling like? Is that just unexplainable? I mean, you could tell me, and I would love to hear, but I won't even understand it because I've never been in that situation.
I would just say clarity, a lot of clarity. Just looking at, I guess the way to put it was, okay, I'm going to die tonight, but that's Bin Laden's compound. This is historic, and I'm going to absorb this. I'm going to take it in. That's all. It's the only way. But it's not even the death expectation, but it's the joy of, wow, we might get to live.
Yeah.
once you're on the way out. So it was quite a night. And again, too, I mean, that's not what my book's about. That's like in pages 300. That's chapter 23 or something like that. This is a story about the life of the operators. We did so much together. Just how these are normal people that just have an exceptional attitude. I mean, we have our top 1% that can knock out 50 pull-ups at a time, but the rest of them are just normal guys, pay their mortgage, cut their grass, go rescue people. It's a good book about everyone in there. I hope people get it.
Well, you did send me a copy, or your
Of course.
assistant Eric did send me a copy, and I thank you for that. And I am
Okay.
reading it, and I look forward to continuing it. One thing I do also want to ask you is, how you mention the story of the operators and where it came from, and everything you have done together. After you came out and you spoke about, Operation Neptune Spear, was there people from your past, whether it be high school, family that's distant, who tried to get in touch with you immediately, who had no idea you might have even been a Navy SEAL?
Yes. What's cool about this is if you grew up with people that know you're a SEAL or know you're a Ranger, or know you're a Green Beret, as soon as something happens, they assume you're on it. So yeah, I think, but everyone that I know had people hitting them up, and they all, everyone thought they knew. But I mean, the story pretty much leaked out as soon as we left anyway, so it wasn't really that important.
Of course, and was there ever a time where maybe a friend of yours or your own father, wife, what have you, who asked you, Rob, were you a part of that mission, and you had to say at the time, you had to keep the secret?
Yeah, but they kind of knew because people around the local area from Virginia and then friends in San Diego all knew who was doing what and who left all of a sudden and then who came back, and it was really a really poorly kept secret. Everyone kind of knew what went down, and then it would again be the whole who did it? Well, don't tell anyone but this guy, and then it spread really really quickly. Like I had there were mechanics in the hangar where we came back, like when we just flew back from Pakistan, and they were pointing at me as we were there. So it was out before we got back home to Virginia.
And what was what was that like when they were pointing at you? Was there just a smile on your face, or what was that like?
No, it's an uncomfortable spotlight, and
Okay.
that's a whole different conversation. I was so used to doing missions where no one knew who was who, and all of a sudden I'm getting pointed at, and that just leads to a lot of misconception and a lot of there's even a little bit of jealousy. So it wasn't a lot of fun.
Now, was this operation the hardest and most difficult operation that you could
No,
say you have been on?
not even close. No, we have there are stories in my book, The Operator, where we went after suicide bombers north of Baghdad, and we were swimming through swamps with 17 seals and 2 dogs, and spent a whole night in there. This one was a lot easier than it should have been. It was a lot more. And plus, we knew the exterior from training on it for so many weeks. All we had to worry about was the interior and a few shots fired. It was not other than your helicopter crashing. It wasn't that hard.
And you guys are, so very stealthy with, how you conduct your operation. I have seen pictures. Was there ever any times, where you would ride in, to the Middle East disguised on horseback? Or, I know that that's very prevalent there. It's the Stone Age. Was there ever any time where blending in was so important? And, was it hard for you to blend in? I think you have blonde hair, don't you? Or
Yeah, blonde hair, possibly even been called a ginger before in my life. Not for me personally. It's a very, very, it's a different place than you would think in Hollywood. And you're not, regardless of, unless you pretend you're a mute, you're not going to be able, even if you speak the language, you can't blend in. You just don't fit. The only reason you would wear a beard and long hair is just for recognition, and when you're dealing with them, they know you're an American, but they also, due to their culture, they have beards. That's just what men do. And if you didn't have a beard, you might as well be like wearing a dress, because you just don't quite fit the norm. So no, I do know guys that did some reconnaissance and stuff with that sort of thing, but didn't try to speak. But no, I'm not getting away with it. I'm not going to be covert until we invade Scotland or something. Then I'll be good to go.
yeah, and if you could also, one thing I did forget to ask when you were in Pakistan, after you had shot and killed Osama bin Laden, I know you did look at his computer, you did collect data. Now, this is a public radio station, but if there's one word that you could describe with the stuff that you saw on that computer, I remember the news coming out with it, and it was just, some of it was disturbing, just crazy. If there's one thing you could share about that.
Well, one of the big stirs they had on the computer was all the pornography, and that goes against what they stand for, supposedly. But I think they were hiding missions and plans inside of that stuff and trying to transfer it. I don't know. I didn't look at it too much. I was happy we got the body, and then we handed it over to the smart people. We did find a lot of opium, too, in his house. I think they were selling opium to fund Al-Qaeda. So there's a lot of shady stuff going on that, the clerics wouldn't be too happy about if they knew he wasn't purely fighting for Sunni Islam.
Now, who do you think is a bigger threat, if you could outweigh one over the other as of right now? Obviously, pay respect to you for your fallen brother in Somalia. And
Yes.
who do you think is a bigger threat to America as of right now, ISIS or Al-Qaeda? Because Al-Qaeda is still prevalent. They've just, they killed the Navy SEAL. Who do you think is the bigger threat?
Well, that was the SEAL that was killed in Somalia was killed by Al-Shabaab, which is sort of an Al-Qaeda affiliate, but also dealing with ISIS. They are both the same ideology, though. They're both Salafists, the Wahhabist version of Sunni Islam that comes out of Saudi Arabia. They're strange. They're strange together. ISIS has been more opportunistic. Like they try to bring everybody in, and they want people to stay somewhere and kill people in their own home, western town, even though they don't have borders. And then Al Qaeda has been more. I'm trying to think what I'm looking for here. They have their noses in the air, and they want to be quiet. They want the large attack. They'll pretend they're smaller than they are. But they both come from the same form. ISIS was formed from Al-Qaeda in Iraq. And there have been talks between Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who is the caliph, and Ayman al-Zawahiri, who is the head of Al-Qaeda, of joining forces. And it would take something, one to battle the other. If one dies, though, I could see the merger being better. But they're both pretty big threats. They both want the destruction of the West, and they want the caliphate, which ISIS has been the first one. No one, including the Muslim Brotherhood, has ever done that. But they did have their de facto capital in Raqqa, Syria, for a while. They're losing it all now and realizing this isn't the end of times. But I mean, they're both pretty dangerous. Anyone that high strung on their version of a 1,400-year-old religion is a problem, and I think you got to watch out for all of them. Because you got them, you got Al-Shabaab, you got Boko Haram, you've got a lot of this moving into South Asia. It's spreading, so it's all dangerous.
Now, do you think that it's 100% all a religious thing? Because, I do believe as well that it is a religious thing and wanting the caliphate. But then we go back to Osama Bin Laden, who had tons of pornography on his computer, which goes against their religion. Now, obviously, things are, tables are going to get turned and stuff is going to get twisted, and they're not going to follow, especially a disturbing, guy like him. What's your opinion on that, though?
Yeah, it's mostly religious based. A lot of the men that have gone to fight in Syria with ISIS were a product of little opportunity and crime, and they went for a brotherhood. But the majority, the clerics, the people in charge, the Shura council, they're extremely religious. That's the extreme of the extreme type of Sunni Islam, and that's what they're doing. A lot of the brainwashed psychopaths that are there are just doing what the clerics tell them. As far as the pornography, there are weird things they can do with the extreme ideology of religion. They can lie to people. They can use certain things if it's for the jihad. So, I wouldn't let it fool you. It's not like he's just using the porn for personal use. He would be doing it so he can pass messages. So, long answer short, it's mainly religious based. It is a religious jihad and a certain form, and that that needs to be addressed and it needs to be stopped.
Wow. Well, that's pretty crazy to hear. That puts a whole new level on pornography. That's what I had no idea that they could be used for passing messages.
Well, yeah, it's encrypted.
Wow. So is this something where people feel that these people, do you think that Americans, or whoever it is, around the world, who are thinking that, considering that these people live in the Stone Age, that they're stupid? And do you disagree with that? I mean, you've seen it, your own eyes. You've seen these people.
No, I think stupid is a big misconception. I mean, Bin Laden himself was a charismatic genius. He was just ideological. And a lot of these people, you got to consider, you only know what you're taught. And they're taught from a very, very... if you get time, look at the Cubs of the Caliphate. So these are 4 and 5-year-old kids on video beheading people. And if you raise someone like that, like imagine that 5-year-old is cutting someone's head off. Imagine him in 10 years. You think he's going to be all right, or is he going to be a jihadi? So
Yeah.
they only know what they're taught, and they are being taught some beliefs from the Stone Age, like the flat earthers. I wasn't making that up. There are people over there from that religion saying it's flat earth because Muhammad said so, and it's just you need to there needs to be some sort of evolution of a lot of these old time religions into 2017. Maybe we were a little off, and maybe I don't need to cut someone's head off or start them on fire because they don't think what I think God thinks they should think. That kind of stuff.
Of course, and the scary thing is that we're seeing, these jihadists, go into, the United States. I'm from New Jersey, and one thing I remember growing up, my father then told me about the, jihadists that were in Paterson, New Jersey, who were cheering in the streets during September 11th, and it was tried to be covered up. Do you feel that? What's your opinion on now, Donald Trump, who I'm also a supporter of big time? What's your opinion on the Muslim ban that he put in? If you could speak on it, I don't know if you get political.
No, I can touch on it because it's not a Muslim ban. It's a waiting period for people who are from areas that are war-torn, rampant with terrorism, and don't have embassies to vet them, and have people in there that are jihadis saying they're going to use in plain, well, maybe not plain English, but plain Arabic, it's translated, that they are going to use our refugee system, our immigration system, against us to infiltrate. And as much as I can only sympathize with refugees from a war-torn country that are trying to raise their kids. But if they're bad guys, then they're saying they're going to use it, get here and use our welfare system against us. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed said that. He's in Guantanamo right now. He's the mastermind of 9/11. He said that's how they're going to take over and ruin our society. So you can't take him at their word. It's not a Muslim ban. It's a vetting process. And for people to spin it, that's what affects me. They spin it, call it a Muslim ban. All of a sudden, all these people, when they turn off the Kardashians for 2 minutes, hear that, they just think Trump's racist, which is not the case. If there are no embassies and there is no vetting process and there's 10,000 missing blank passports and people saying they're going to come here and kill us, look what's happening in France, people running them over with trucks. How many times does that need to happen here before we realize maybe we just need to address what actually is the problem instead of spinning up this nonsense political correct argument? It's frustrating. But I think there's people in the right place that are doing the right things. It does need to be addressed a little bit with kid gloves, but I wish a lot of the mainstream media would tell the truth.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's crap. I'm just to listen to people who think they have an idea. Whether I'm 22 years old. My mind is not yet molded, but I can tell you right now, I know what's right, and I know what to believe in, and I believe in America. I believe in the safety of Americans, and I support the United States military. And to listen to people go on and on and on about we should be letting in this person and that person and that person, and then when the topic comes up of, well, one guy who's a jihadist might squeeze through that fence as well, and they say that could not happen. It's annoying to listen to because you've been there. And that's why I love speaking to a guy like yourself and past, podcasts, because you get to share what it was really like. But do you feel that those same people who have this thought in the country have no idea what they're talking about?
Well, they do. And I've got friends from Iraq, born and raised in Mosul, that we employed as interpreters, living here now, trying to get citizenship, saying anybody from that part of the world needs to be vetted because I grew up carrying an AK-47 in Mosul. I don't want to do it in San Diego. And these are Muslims saying it. They don't want they don't want Sharia law coming here. They want the Constitution. I had a friend ask me, if it's so great, why aren't these refugees flooding countries with Sharia law? They're trying to get away from it.
Yeah, of course. And not to attack a major media station. I won't even mention the name. I know you already know, who it will be.
I could probably pick it out.
Starts with the C, ends with an N. Yeah, but I'm glad we're on the same page, Rob. But I mean, what I will say is when the guy who was involved, the Syrian guy who was involved in the chemical attack, tried to speak out about how much he loved Donald Trump and how much he was happy with what Trump was doing. They cut him off.
I remember that. Yeah, they did. I remember that because he was saying finally someone stood up for the people against both the radical Islamists and then the regime of Bashar al-Assad. Someone finally came in and hit him, and they were happy. And that wasn't quite the interview they wanted, so they cut him off.
Yeah, it's pathetic. It makes
Yeah.
no sense. It's horrible. And, I mean, it's just one of those things that is aggravating. But, I just give you guys the utmost credit with everything, whether it be the stupid conspiracy theories or, people thinking that they know more than you, that you're able to stay, somewhat relaxed about it, like you have said. And it's just, it is pathetic, and it's very annoying to listen to. But, one thing I do have to ask, and in the most serious way, too, I'm not, being a jack. I can't curse on the radio.
Fair enough.
Not to go back to the pornography, but did you find encrypted messages in the data that was collected on his computer?
I did not. Like I said, we just gave it to the people that do the analysis, and I just know that I think some more targets in the top 5 were killed in the next few days based on what we found in his compound. So I'm assuming they did.
Wow. And how you mentioned before, is it still surreal that you were the guy who took out the face of terrorism on the FBI's most wanted, who will go down in history?
Yeah, it's just something that it can't be real. I just can close my eyes and see it, and it was just an honor to be a part of that team. It wasn't like I said, it wasn't. I didn't go in there by myself. The whole team went in there. They were doing everything to get us there. The pilots got us there. The analysts found it. I was the guy that turned the corner.
Wow. And that story was so amazing. And Rob, I cannot thank you enough for being on Patriots Corner. It has been such an honor to speak with you.
My pleasure. This is a good talk.
Yeah, it was so amazing, and it was just such an honor to listen to what truly went down, and what's is maybe one of the reasons where you wanted to come out and you wanted to write your book, The Operator, is because you wanted to truly express what happened and what went down on that night, from you being the last guy in, from the helicopter, finding out the helicopter crashed, from shooting Bin Laden's son to then shooting Bin Laden. Do you feel that the media is putting out fake stuff? For example, how you telling me that this Navy SEAL was killed not directly by Al-Qaeda. They listed it as Al-Qaeda on the articles online.
Well, it's tough to say just because, like I said, they're Al-Shabaab, they're Somalians, that they're affiliated with Al-Qaeda, they believe in sort of the same stuff. So it's one of those digging in so deep, you're going to find it goes back to the same place. And as far as like my book, The Operator, is the first book about the Bin Laden. Well, it's not about the Bin Laden, right? That's part of the book, a small part. But it's the first one with that mission in it to be vetted by the Pentagon. So the Pentagon read it. They gave it to different departments that were involved. They all read it. So it's legitimate. It's the first one out. And I just wanted to tell the story of the life of the operator, what the men and women are like to do it. So that's And I didn't shoot Khalid bin Laden. The guy in front of me did, just to be clear.
And what happened to bin Laden's wife?
I think the Pakistanis arrested her.
And was there any word of what happened to her? I'm assuming maybe she's still sitting in a prison.
No, I think she got released, but I'd have to look that up. I don't know, and I really don't care.
Of course not. And now what's with that tie? I mean, why would the Pakistanis? What was going on there? Because obviously, I don't know all the facts. And Pakistan was, allowing. Did they know bin Laden was there? They were aware.
But I don't know. I don't have confirmation, but yeah, they knew he was there.
Okay. And I'll take your word over anybody. So, but, being said, what was the reasoning you think now for them potentially arresting his wife?
No, they just arrested her when she was there. I mean, I guess they got to put up a front, right? Pretend that not everybody knew what she knew or whatever. I don't know. I think there were 3 wives there and some kids. I think they took them all. They probably released them back to Saudi Arabia. But again, I don't know any of that stuff, and that's out of my league.
Okay, and just as a question. I know bin Laden had close to 26 children. Do you think there's a possibility of those children, one of, or many, who are fighting with Al-Qaeda as of right now or trying to regain their father's throne?
Yeah, probably. Who knows? I'm not sure how they deal with it. They might. Again, I can't speculate.
Yeah. And on a positive question, I do have a serious question.
Sure.
How did you become good friends with Kid Rock? He is the man, dude. I love Kid Rock. Kid Rock is the man.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. He's putting out a new album this summer too. He's putting on a big tour.
I always see you hanging out with him. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's happy to hang out with you. You're the man. You're the real deal.
He's a good friend. He's probably the most generous guy I've ever met, and he's just, I mean, we just have a good time, you know. If you like to shoot shotguns and hunt and just hang out and listen to music, and that, just a good dude. Yeah, we just went to the Derby this weekend, the Kentucky Derby. I'm trying to drag him to the Indy 500 now.
Wow. And you're a big hunter, aren't you?
I grew up hunting. I haven't done it so much anymore. You know, I'm busy with my foundation and public speaking and working with Fox and all that stuff. So I'll get back into it when it slows down.
And you were from the
Montana.
West? Okay. What was it like growing up there? I was in Cody, Wyoming a while back with my father and my family. We were on a dude ranch. I loved it. You know, I loved it so much. I grew up outdoors. I'm from the country in New Jersey. Grew up hunting and fishing with my father, shooting guns. There's nothing like it. What was it like growing up in Montana?
I was saying, but not quite as, you know, a little bit more wide open than Jersey, but
it is definitely.
Normal stuff. The only thing I didn't do was swim. I grew up hunting, playing basketball, running, all that stuff, but didn't learn how to swim until I joined the Navy.
Wow. And do you feel, you know, when you joined the Navy, I mean, obviously you would have never thought that you would have been, you know, the guy to, I mean, that's a dumb question on my part. You would have never known. But, I mean, regardless, that push for you to join the Navy and then to join the Navy SEALs, was that something that was always within you? Were you always, you know, such a patriotic American?
Nope. I mean, I was patriotic and mainly conservative, but I was never going to join the military until about 5 or so days before I did, just out of luck.
And when you say just out of luck, was it just something where, you know, you decided I want to do this, or?
No, it was time to leave town. I had to get out of town. I was 19. I lived there forever. It was time to leave, go on an adventure, and it turned out to be a bigger adventure than I thought.
Yeah. Wow. And again, you know, grateful. I'm happy. You know what? I'm happy you left town, because now this, you know, Jack, whatever, he's gone, and it could thank you and your team as well. You know, it's just such an honor to hear your story. I can't, you know, I could just use that word over and over and over again, because it's, you know, like a dream for me. I remember growing up, you know, being in high school, a freshman, wondering who the guy was. And you guys have such a, you know, secret community and stealth community, and thinking that he could have walked by me, you know, and I wouldn't have even have known it. And I do know that a lot of Navy SEALs do say that a SEAL could identify another SEAL just by their swagger.
Nah, it's pretty funny. You can generally tell, and we always run into each other, usually at a pub or something. But yeah, we know who we are.
Wow. And you know, Rob, I just have to say, thank you so much for being on Patriots Corner today, sharing your story.
Yep.
You know, you are an American hero, sir, and it was such an honor to speak to you.
I appreciate that. Thanks a lot for your time today.
All right, Rob, you take care. God bless.
Cool. You too. Bless you. Bye.
Bye. That was just former United States Navy SEAL Robert O'Neill. Now, Rob participated in over 400 operations, one of which was Operation Neptune Spear, where Rob took the shot to kill Al-Qaeda leader Osama Bin Laden. Another mission he was on was the rescue of Captain Phillips. It was an honor to speak to Mr. Robert O'Neill today on Patriots Corner, and I cannot thank him enough. You know, please go and check out Robert O'Neill's book, The Operator. He is an amazing man. He gave me the opportunity, you know, to speak with him on my show, and again, like I said before, it was just an honor. That is the only word I could use to describe, because he is an American hero. He is an American hero, and he risked his life for the country, and you heard it on Patriots Corner today. And Rob, I would like to thank you for being on Patriots Corner. It was such an honor, and I wish you the best of luck, sir, with your book and with every endeavor that you know, come across with your foundation and everything. Thank you so much. God bless you, sir, and have a good night, guys.